So this video takes you through doing basic topographic surveys using a GPS receiver and Access 2020. It's relevant whether you're using PRS or whether you're using conventional Basin Rover RTK. Other videos should be referenced to start those surveys. We are actually using a very useful tool here, which is called the GNSS emulator, which is accessible for any users, and it just allows us to simulate using a GPS receiver rather than walking around all the time to record these types of videos. So we've started the survey, and if we choose measure, then it will automatically go into measure points. We just put in a unique identifier for each point, and then we can choose to free code, so we can use our own codes, or we can use a feature code library, which you can see we've got here. So if I use a feature code library, and if I say this is going to be a top of bank feature, then we're ready to record this top of bank feature. Here we've got a background DXF file. If I want rid of that at the moment, then I can just click on my layers, choose none, and the DXF file will disappear. Normally, for hard detail, where you're going to use the method top of point, soft detail, we might use rapid point. Control stations, we would use observed control point. Here, we'll use top of point. We now occupy the point with the pole. We're ready to measure the point. We choose measure. We hold the pole steady, and the system will tell us when it's ready to move. And I'm going to simulate moving to the next point. So we're just going to move the operator along. We're now on point number 2, and we can choose measure again. And because it's the same feature, then the lines will join up. If I move the operator again, this time I'm going to choose another feature. So we're going to change it to a bottom of bank. Choose measure again. And move the operator. Then it knows that this is obviously a different feature. So if I just zoom extents, zoom out a little bit, just pan a little bit there, we can see that this is a separate feature from the top of bank. So if we measure a second bottom of bank, then we see the colouring being used and it's a separate string. If I now add a second instance of a bottom of bank, so if I just move the operator down and to the right, and if this was a separate bottom of bank, I've got a couple of options how to split this string. So one of them is by just having a unique identifier. So this is just going to be bottom of bank 1. Move the operator, bottom of bank 1 will be separate from this bottom of bank. And likewise, if we had another bottom of bank 2, then it would be separate from bottom of bank 1. What we can also do is if we just go back to bottom of bank, we can use the quick coding here. So it's actually, if it's doesn't appear, it's actually called the CAD toolbar. And what we can do here is we're on bottom of bank, and I can just snap that, and it automatically adds a new point code. And it knows that it only occurs for a single instance, and then it's back to normal bottom of bank, and we can measure again. So just do that once more. We need a new string. We just tap that. It adds the .n, which is a new string command. It automatically comes off. So when we're ready to measure another point, it stays. So we've got all these separate lines. This CAD toolbar is very powerful. So we can use start and end curving here. We can do splining. We can do a rectangle. So if we try a rectangle, so if I just do something like a fence that I want to make a rectangle, we'll move down and we can say that this is a rectangle, choose measure, move to my second point, move to my third point, and it knows that that third point should have, and we now see the rectangle fitted between the 3 points. If we want to display what coding we've used, then we can just go to our settings and we can choose to display codes. And any code that we have on the map, we can edit. So for instance, if I wanted to go to this point here and edit it, I can just long press the screen and I can actually say that this one should actually have been bottom of bank 1, and it will join it back to the previous bottom of bank 1, which is here. And then this one will join back to the last bottom of bank. So we can edit any code in the field. So the CAD command bar is a very powerful option when you're surveying. So that's just a very brief introduction to doing some coding using topographic survey. Our accuracies are always displayed on the top right-hand corner of Trimble Access 2020. When we're finished our survey, then we're just going to choose Measure and End GNSS Survey. We can choose whether or not we power down receiver. I will say no. And then to export the data, the easiest thing is to put a memory stick in the TSC7, and we just choose to go to the test and we choose copy. And here we can choose the memory stick directory. And now we can copy, and it will copy the job file onto the memory stick. So that's just a quick introduction to doing topographic surveys, ending the survey, and exporting the data onto a memory stick.